What's up, everyone? My name is Miguel, and today we're going to be reviewing Emotional Success by David Desteno. Let's just jump right in.
Book review.
The main point the book is arguing is that emotions are better than cognition at maintaining self-control. So the book will touch upon grit, which is putting effort into a long-term goal, and the tools we have at hand to invoke grit, that is cognition and emotion. For cognition, the book will talk about executive function, willpower, and reasoning. And for emotion, the book focuses on three discrete ones: gratitude, compassion, and pride. The book also discusses about intertemporal dilemma and temporal discounting to explain why we struggle to invoke grit. And finally, the book ends on the value added we get from using emotion. So there's many topics here that I believe is important for OB students because it links in with other topics within the unit, such as emotional intelligence, discrete emotions, the two types of pride, and even the PERMA model. But I think the greatest importance of why OB students should read this book is because it gives them a greater appreciation of the power of emotion.
Lessons learned.
So the first lesson I learned from the book was the theory behind why we struggle with self-control. The author explains two reasons for this struggle. The first is intertemporal dilemma, which is where if we want to achieve something in the future, we have to give up something now. And the second is temporal discounting, which is where the perceived value of our goal decreases the further away it is in the future. And so what ends up happening is that we give in to that short-term pleasure because the rewards in the future doesn't seem to be worth it. So this was a pretty big eye-opener for me because I thought that I procrastinated or I struggled with self-control because it was in my personality or something like that. But no, this affects everyone. Another surprising lesson I learned were the weaknesses of using cognition to maintain self-control. Initially, I thought that using cognitive processes such as willpower, executive function, and reasoning were the only ways for us to maintain self-control, and that emotions were the ones that distracted us from achieving our goals. But no, the author explains that using cognitive processes to maintain self-control is in many ways very weak at doing that. First of all, it takes a lot of effort to use, so it can be mentally tolling. This means that the more we use cognition, the less reliable it is at maintaining self-control. And another surprising thing the author explains is that it can also be physically tolling. I didn't know this. Apparently, using cognition too much or constantly can lead to wrinkles, can lead to a faster aging process, and can lead to a weakening of the immune system. The final lesson I learned was the power of using gratitude, compassion, and pride for self-control. I honestly thought that emotions were just nothing more than a sense of feeling. But no, they're more than that. The author explains that they're not designed to distract us away from our goals. They're more than that. He explains that for gratitude, it's not just about feeling grateful or thankful. It's about paying it forward. It's about you wanting to help others because others have helped you. For compassion, it's not just about feeling empathetic or sympathetic to another person. It's about you wanting to sacrifice your resources, wanting to sacrifice your time to help others. So it's similar to gratitude, but without that person having to help you first. And pride. Biggest surprise there. Pride has such a bad reputation. I thought, and I'm pretty sure everyone thought that, it's only about your ego. It's only about you feeling good about yourself. But no, the right type of pride is about you being able to appreciate a skill you're trying to learn. It allows you to persevere and work hard towards improving that skill. So as you can see, emotions are more than just a sense of feeling.
Criticisms.
The main criticism I have about the book is how it ignores the issues of being too socially oriented. The book is adamant about the advantages of helping others to help yourself. The book even explains that the trade-off between going to a social gathering rather than studying is worth it. Which, I agree with, but what about cultures in East Asian countries such as Japan, Singapore, China, where people there are already serving society before themselves, which in many cases has been detrimental to their health. For example, Japan has one of the highest suicide rates in the world because of stress from both the workplace and from school, and long working hours from the workplace, and even ironically, social isolation. So this kind of goes against the notion of the book. But perhaps we could say that the book is only targeted towards Western countries. But I don't appreciate the fact that the author doesn't acknowledge this in his book. The other criticism I have about the book is the way it provides suggestions for how we can implement the three emotions in real time. I've actually got a list here of the many suggestions that the author provides. He suggests meditation, writing a journal, reflection times, counting your blessings, yoga, something called a reciprocity ring, VR, writing letters to your future self, and finally using your imagination. So there's a lot in here, and honestly, it feels impractical to implement some of these suggestions. At one point, the author, I don't know, it seems like he's promoting this meditation app, which felt weird, honestly, and it kind of diminished the professionalism of the book.
Practical pieces of advice.
Like I said in my criticism, I think the book offers several impractical suggestions on how we can invoke the three emotions in real time. And so, my first piece of advice for you guys is to reflect. I want you guys to, I recommend anyway, that you guys reflect after every interaction you have with another person. Think about what you said, what they said, what you guys did, but through the perspective of the three emotions. The great thing about this method is that I'm pretty sure everyone does it anyway. We cringe or we relish at the memories of our interactions with other people. The only difference I'm suggesting is we reframe the way we reflect, so many R words there, from ourselves to others, all right? And what I mean by this is, from my experience, whenever I think about my interactions with other people, I think about what I did. Did I make them laugh? Did I embarrass myself? So we should move away from ourselves towards focusing on what other people did. And what this will do is that it will invoke gratitude and compassion. And it's only when we want to start reflecting on pride should we reframe the focus back towards ourselves. Another way to invoke the three emotions, and my second piece of advice for you guys, is to keep a journal. You can actually link this back to my first advice by writing down your reflections. Obviously, you don't have to write down all of them because there's going to be a lot. But do try to write down the ones that you felt were most impactful. In your journal entries, I also want you to write down the relevant emotion that was associated to that particular experience. And what this will do is it'll widen your perspective of gratitude and compassion. You'll notice the smallest actions that you never thought to feel grateful or compassion for. I also want you guys to write down your achievements for that day that has led you a little bit closer to your goal. And this will invoke pride. So it not only keeps a record of your achievements, but you'll physically see your progress. My final piece of advice for you guys is to go out with your friends and families. Be social even during exam times. We need to move away from this idea that to be successful, you have to sacrifice your social life. We don't have to go that far. Again, the trade-off between going to a social event rather than studying is worth it. So next time, if you get an invitation to go to lunch with a friend, but it's during exam times, take it. Because the compassion and gratitude you'll reflect upon, again, linking to that first and second recommendation, will help you maintain self-control, will help you get motivated to study and prepare for the exams. I do want to stress though that don't take this advice too far, okay? I feel like you guys will start saying, hey Miguel, my deadline's due, but you said this, you said that. No, obviously don't do that. I'm sure your common sense will guide you, but again, don't take this advice out of proportion.
Final thoughts.
So after all that's been said, I give this book a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Book Review and hope to see you in the next one. See ya!